Hey there, everyone. That sexy nerd is back again, and we're watching more. We're watching someone that's been on my radar for a little while now. Your girl Toon, she calls herself. I like her videos. I've seen I've seen a couple of them, just a couple of them, and I like her summarizations. And well, she just decided to do. And you know I had to cover that. So I'm never going to not cover things that are invincible. So she is talking about how the Amber hate is, like unjustified. Or I don't know. What is it? What is she? Is the hate justified? Yeah. She's asking if the hate is justified. I feel like she's going to agree. I feel like she is. She seems like that kind of person who would agree, but at the same time, in my opinion, yes in season 1, not in season 2. And honestly, do people hate her that much anymore? I don't think so. But hey, what are you gonna do? I guess you can't change people's memories of the war crime she was in season 1. Because yes, I have to admit, The thing that did it for me was her little bullshit explanation for why she couldn't understand why Mark lied to her about her secret identity. I feel, it all feels like weird now too. It all feels really weird, like how she was such an irrational and just unreasonable position at the end of the last season, and then she automatically whiplashed, like right after Omni-Man fought Mark, she just automatically whiplashes and forgets everything she was complaining about and starts treating Mark at least somewhat nice. But by then it was like way too late. So yeah, I mean, the decision to make her like that, like different from the comics, really was not probably not a good thing, but at the same time, she was kind of bland in the comics, in my opinion. And if anything, they kind of did something interesting with her, did something slightly interesting with her. But I think what they're going to do is, in my personal opinion, they're going to take out the abusive boyfriend subplot. I mean, honestly, if they still go along with it, I think that could be even more devastating in the show, because what is it, Kyle, or whatever the hell his name is, at least is abusive in the comics, and gives her a black eye. And I honestly, I still kind of want something like that to happen. I feel like the characters would grow from that. It would seem more realistic, I mean, and that's what they're going, at least as far as the damages are concerned. They feel like it feels like that's what they're doing, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to change some scenes, especially the things surrounding Anissa. But I won't go into that because we got a video to watch. So enough of me talking about it. Let's just get into the episode. And remember, please smash that like button if you want to see more sexy and nerdy content, and subscribe if you think I deserve it. And remember, sign up for my Patreon for all my latest reactions to all my latest videos. And let's do this thing, y'all.
Did you know people heavily dislike Mark and Eve and prefer Mark and Amber?
Who thinks that?
Invincible.
They're not fans. The hell?
The TV series debuted back in April 2021. It took the world by storm with characters we fell head over heels in love with, like me, for example. I have an unhealthy obsession with Kitty, because that's my guy. My favorite character in all of Invincible. We're like Boo and Sully. Don't try us. I'll gladly die and fight for him. Then you have characters that people will...
You're gonna be a little disappointed when Thrag comes into the mix.
Will gladly burn at the stake, drown with cinder blocks, air out the whole block just to prove and show how they're not messing with this character. No one fits this description better than Amber Bennett.
Yeah. I never found you funny. I never found you entertaining. I never found you smart. I just found you annoying.
For the last couple of years, there have been an ongoing discourse surrounding the controversial Amber. That's the reason why I've been so hesitant to talk about her.
Why?
Because one, who's still talking about Amber in the big old age of 2025? And two, every YouTuber, big and small, has talked and dragged her to death. So really, what perspective can I bring to the table? And when you think about it, it's wild because Invincible is full of characters who live in shades of gray, some of them straight up monsters, yet somehow Amber ends up catching more hate than villains who level cities. So
again, I want to say that it's because her not understanding, like her putting Mark in that unfair situation where he actually revealed his identity to her and he's like, oh, you didn't trust me enough to do it. It's like, I'm trusting you now. And it's like, he's absolutely right. And like, she just became so unreasonable in that moment. It pissed me off to no end.
Why her?
Because you lied to me.
There we go.
Shut up. Season 1 Amber is meh. I'll admit to that. They definitely improved her character in season 2, but what solidified the hate for Amber is the fact that she knew that Mark, her boyfriend, is invincible.
Thank you.
I gave Amber the heavy side eye when she said she knew the same Invincible who's been saving people 24/7, the same Invincible who got mollywopped by Kitty, the same Invincible who has been fighting the robots at the college. She knew why he couldn't be there with her. So honestly, I don't know why girl is crying. This is like what, the 8th time this week Mark got his shit rocked? Bro taking more L's than Immortal. And don't even get me started on the Mortal. Like, he gets me so heated. So when Mark, exhausted, asks, why are we fighting?
We're fighting because you lied to me.
Her answer lit the fandom on fire.
So stupid.
She accuses him of lying and not making her feel important. If we look at it from Amber's point of view, she's not totally wrong. When Mark went to Eve, she confirmed in Clock Mark they were dating for 5 months.
Yeah, but I didn't tell you to string her along for 5 months while being an asshole about it.
Oh.
You were a terrible boyfriend to Amber, and you got what you deserved.
Let her cook. She dated Mark for 5 months without knowing his secret. From her perspective, he really did just vanish and dip out on her over and over again. When she says she figured it out weeks before he told her, that means for months. She genuinely thought he didn't care enough to show up. But let's not forget, the show doesn't give us clear timestamps, so the exact timeline is a bit hazy.
Yeah.
Fans also criticize Amber for not forgiving Mark right away after learning the truth, but from her side, he has still been lying to her for months. They were in a committed relationship talking about a future together while he withheld a life-altering secret. Expecting honesty from your partner isn't unreasonable. It's the foundation of any relationship. Wouldn't you be upset if someone you love have hidden something that big for that long? Then there's the cheating accusation, which really doesn't hold up. Amber shares a single flirty exchange with a frat guy.
Yeah.
And it's not even clear that she and Mark were still officially together at that point. I know, a lot of you like Tunes, you're giving Amber a lot of grace. But now, what baffles me, Amber is...
Okay, first of all, yeah, they were together. And not only that, she came back to him at the end after Omni-Man did whatever. So yes, they were together. They technically were together the whole time. They never broke up. Like, she never broke up with him, remember that. She only said that, she even said that when she figured out his identity and that whole argument that he's like, you know, never once did she say, I don't want to see you anymore, or, I don't want to be your girlfriend anymore. She just told him, fly away. You know, that's just a typical overdramatic fight that you have with a girl. It never ended the relationship.
Portrayed as smart, empathetic, and socially aware.
No,
she helps out.
That's what I'm saying.
She pays attention to the world, and Amber is sharp enough to connect the dots about Mark's identity. Yet when she does figure it out, she acts like being a superhero isn't life-threatening. Homegirl has seen and heard the horror stories that come with the life of a suit. Not even a couple months ago, the Guardians of the Globe got clapped out of existence, and before the reveal, she watched Invincible get jumped while visiting the college campus, and still she holds it against Mark that he didn't hand over his most dangerous secret on a silver platter after a few months of dating. Not to mention mad at him for saving lives. Girl, you would have been more upset if he didn't save lives. Mark was in a lose-lose situation regardless.
That's what I'm saying.
This is where the fandom's frustration comes in. If Amber has said, I know who you are, but dating a superhero isn't for me, that would have been fair. We see it work out for Debbie and Nolan, but only for that to get flushed down the drain after he lied for 20 plus years about who he really was. Instead, the show portrays her as bitter, petty, and oddly dismissive of the true risk Mark faces.
That's
Think
exactly
about it.
why.
If she's smart enough to figure out Mark is invincible, it wouldn't take a huge leap to realize his dad is Omni-Man. Of course, Mark isn't dumb enough to confess that early on in their relationship that he's the son of the most powerful being on the planet. Let's say that information somehow got spread around. It would not only make Mark's life a living hell, but Amber's and her family's as well. At this point in time, Mark is still a high schooler, so supervillains with a vendetta or others who just want to be messy can track him down. That's a lot to dump on a high school relationship. Going back to the reveal, she accuses Mark of abandoning her, even though both of them know that's not true. It feels manipulative and unnecessarily harsh on Amber's part. It feels maleficent, like she's trying to punish Mark for keeping his secret. This just makes her look more unreasonable. Now, if I were a superhero, I wouldn't be yapping about my real identity to my bae that I only been dating for 5 months.
Thank you.
Not even a year. Hell, half
ridiculous.
a year at best.
Ridiculous.
Like, hey, you watching this video, if you were a superhero, would you reveal to your girlfriend or
no,
relabel it as your secret identity, even though y'all been dating for a hot 5
no,
years?
no, 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 hell no. No!
I've looked at this from Amber's perspective, and now I'll do Mark's real quick. You know what really gets under my skin? In superhero stories is when supportive characters or civilian love interests get angry or hurt because the hero didn't tell them about their secret identity.
I was literally going to point to that. I was literally just about to point to that as in like an anti Amber, okay? Yes. Lois does get pissed, but honestly, even still, even in this, Lois does, even though it's still not entirely justified. It follows the same rules, but you know, she doesn't blame him, and she automatically, you know, he automatically does win her over for the most part. Like, she's way more reasonable than Amber is. And even still, I remember like getting a little weirded out that like she's getting pissed off. Like, really, you expect? They weren't even in a relationship. At that point, I don't think she expected him to reveal his relationship after they had been only known each other. I think less than 6 months. They'd barely known each other. It's ridiculous for her to get upset. It really is. Both of them, even Lois here. But again, the difference with Lois is not, you know, she just got, you know, she was more reasonable. And even still, like, it eventually, like, ended, and, like, she's been his biggest partner in this whole thing. Like, she even saved his ass in season 2. I love that show, and I can't wait for season 3, damn it.
This comes up all the time, and every time I find myself asking the same question. Why do they think they're entitled to that knowledge?
I know.
Let's be real. Keeping a secret identity isn't just a stylistic choice. It's a survival tactic. For Mark, being invincible isn't only about wearing a suit and fighting bad guys. It's about protecting his family, his friends, and yes, even Amber. The second his identity becomes common knowledge, he's not just putting himself at risk. He's painting a target on everyone he cares about. Villains don't fight fair, and nothing is easier to leverage than a superhero's loved ones. That's why secrecy is not selfish, it's selfless. By not telling Amber, Mark wasn't saying he didn't trust her. He was saying he valued her safety above his own desire for openness. There's also another point people miss. Superheroes are allowed privacy. Mark is more than invincible. He's a teenager trying to graduate, navigate friendships, and figure out who he is outside the suit. Demanding that he lay every part of himself bare just to keep someone else from feeling insecure isn't fair. So when Amber or other characters feel betrayed by not being told right away, I get it. That frustration is human. It also highlights the impossible position superheroes are put in. They're expected to save the world and still manage perfect honesty, perfect relationships, perfect everything. That's not realistic.
We're fighting because you lied to me.
You lied to me, Superman. You kept this from me.
Shut your bubblegum dumb looking ass the fuck up.
Man, shut your bitch ass.
Mark didn't keep his secret from Amber to hurt her. He did it to protect her. And in a world full of villains who would exploit any weakness, that choice wasn't just right, it was necessary. Listen, no matter how you may feel about Mark, we can all agree he wasn't the best boyfriend to Amber, okay? But I will say
what does that even mean? He did his best. He was not that, like, what, just because he was late to a lot of things, he still showed up with, like, good, like, you know, little memorable things and everything and made her happy, or tried to at least make her happy somehow. No, he tried. He wasn't a bad boyfriend. I don't agree with that.
It's his until he feels ready and comfortable enough to tell it to someone. Amber isn't a monster. In fact, compared to most of the cast, she's harmless. The real problem is how the show wrote her in season 1.
Yeah.
Inconsistent, unfair, and overly harsh.
That's
Fans
true.
latched onto that, and the internet did what the internet does best: amplify it to extremes. Like, a lot of you are willing to forgive Nolan before forgiving Amber.
Yeah.
Nolan, the same guy who bodied his son and turned his face into meatloaf paste.
That I will admit is very true. The whole fandom is like, my God, Amber is like the worst thing since whatever. I think it also has to do a little bit with race, by the way, because Nolan is basically, you know, they're all like, oh, my Homelander, but he's got brown hair. Woo! It's the Nazi in them. But anyway, jokes aside, it's mainly because Nolan is a cool character and he does have one of the better storylines. So,
a mass murderer before a teenage girl.
That's true.
At the end of the
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words, create your brand.
end of the day, Amber doesn't deserve all the hate she gets, but the writing made her come off more unreasonable than she should have. That's the heart of why fans can't stand her. This leads to my biggest pet peeve: the black disposable girlfriend trope. And I'm sure a lot of you are scratching your head probably saying, what's the black disposable girlfriend trope?
Well,
your girl Tunes will educate you on this. For those unfamiliar, it's a recurring pattern in media where black women are introduced as love interests only to be sidelined, discarded, or replaced once the true romance, often with a white or non-black character, takes center stage. Once that happens, the black woman's role diminishes, her character arc stalls, her presence fades, and she's remembered less for who she was and more for what she represented, a stepping stone in someone else's story.
I've seen that happen.
Unfortunately, Amber falls right into this mold, which brings up another complaint of mine. Why did they race swap Amber? Because in the comics, she's white.
Thank
Do
you.
not spoil anything for me until the new Invincible season comes out. I'm not a comic reader, but many people have told me Amber's white in the comics.
Yeah.
Did they make Amber black to be more inclusive? Like the same thing with Iris West from the CW Flash.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, they race swap Amber to be more diverse, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I believe the Invincible writers unintentionally put her in multiple stereotypes and tropes that have negative connotations for black women. Race bending can be a powerful tool for representation, but representation without intentional writing can backfire, because when you cast a black woman in a role that was originally white, she inherits the long history of how black women have been represented in media, for better or worse. The problem isn't that Amber is black. The problem is how she's written once she becomes black. In Invincible, we're introduced to her standing up for Mark against a bully. She didn't enter their relationship with any malice, and she frequently volunteers to aid those in need. But Amber is framed as an obstacle to his superhero life, and then eventually replaced by Eve, who becomes his long-term partner. So after that, Amber is narratively disposable, and the fallout from that writing choice is twofold. On one hand, it reinforces damaging tropes that many people in the Invincible fandom have labeled her as the angry black woman, like the Tyler Perry film, a stereotype that has been weaponized against black women for decades. On the other hand, it fuels the intense hatred Amber receives from parts of the fandom. Hate that feels disproportionate compared to how other characters are treated. When those two elements collide, the message, intentional or not, is painful.
I mean, see, that's exactly why, because I don't have these kind of tendencies. I forgot about it. I mean, like, I let it go by the time season 2 came out. I mean, yeah, she was like written better. She also was written better and more understanding in that. I do also think, though, that the weakest part of the season 2, though, was the whole breakup thing, the whole oh my God, it was just so tedious and so long and everything. And then they finally do break up, and I feel like it could have been done a little bit better. I feel like if you cut out the whole Stat 70 show split screen bull where, you know, they're both asking, like Mark is asking Art for advice and Amber is asking Eve for advice, which already is weird. And you just skip to the whole, you know, her not being able to handle Mark's life, you know, after with Anissa and everything. I feel like it could have been a little bit better, a little bit stronger, because it just happens out of nowhere, you know. But I don't know.
I believe the writers set out to intentionally lean into harmful stereotypes. They likely wanted to diversify the cast and thought making Amber black was a step toward inclusion. But good intentions don't erase impact. Representation has to go deeper than surface level casting. It requires care in how characters are written, developed, and valued within the story. Black women on screen deserve so much more than what they get. They deserve to be written with intention, not as disposable or stepping stones for someone else's arc. They deserve the same narrative weight that any main character will receive.
I have no agency, Mark. Who am I to be upset or sad or feel anything when you're literally saving the world, when you disappear for months at a time, when I'm alone again instead of being with my boyfriend?
Mark and Amber officially break up. The catalyst for this was Anissa nearly doing a Mortal Kombat finisher and tearing Amber's head and spine out of her body. Girl, I would have called a quiz too. I absolutely cannot blame her for this being her 13th reason why. What frustrates me more is how often Amber's decision gets dismissed as poor writing. In reality, it's one of the most realistic and empathetic portrayals of a teenage girlfriend caught in impossible circumstances.
But again, it's just people being, you know, hateful for no reason. Like, it's a damn show at the end of the day, people. A superhero show where people fly around.
Communicates clearly, voices her needs, and sets boundaries. That's not weakness, it's maturity. Yet fans label her badly written because she doesn't conform to the passive, self-sacrificing mold female love interests are often forced into. Contrast Amber with Eve. She swallows her disappointments, often putting her own feelings aside for noble reasons. Admirable, yes. But when Amber refuses to follow the same script, she's demonized for it. The double standard is glaring. It reeks of misogynoir. For anyone who doesn't know what misogynoir is, it's
dislike or of contempt for or ingrained prejudice against black women. Misogynoir shows how sexism and racism manifests in black women's lives to create intersecting forms of oppression. Wow, I had no idea this was all a thing.
A term coined by scholar Moya Bailey to describe the unique form of prejudice that directly targets black women, where both racism and sexism intersect. It's not just misogyny, sexism against women in general, and it's not just anti-black racism, it's a combination of the two. For example, stereotyping black women as angry, loud, or difficult, portraying them as less desirable or disposable compared to non-black women, expecting them to be endlessly strong, patient, or self-sacrificing while dismissing their feelings, and punishing them for the same behaviors that are excused or celebrated in others. Amber shows empathy and compassion, but also insists on being treated as a person whose life doesn't revolve around Mark. That complexity should be celebrated, not punished. She stuck by him, tried to understand, and still ended up in life-threatening situations because of his world. When she finally walked away, it wasn't out of pettiness, it was out of self-preservation. What's disturbing is how much hate she gets simply for standing up for herself. Many female love interests are written as doormats, sacrificing their needs for the hero's journey. Amber didn't, and that's why people resent her, because she refuses to be a yes man, because she dares to express disappointment, because she chooses herself when Mark can't give her what she needs. Even after she reconciled with Mark in season 1, fans never forgave her. They froze her character in that one moment and refused to see her growth. But Amber is more than one season, more than one decision. She's a compassionate, complex, and very human character who deserves better than the hate she gets. And I'm about to clock Mark because, yes, he had enormous responsibilities as Invincible. And yes, of course, saving lives often have to take priority over spending time with Amber. That much is fair and clear. But if Mark knew he couldn't give her what she needed, he should have the maturity to end things early instead of stringing her along.
He's 16 years old! What are you talking about maturity? If anything, he's showing real maturity right now, and he was even showing maturity in telling her. Actually, it was like, by your own admission, it was immaturity for him still trusting her after knowing her for only a few months. So, what are you talking about?
And here's where the double standard gets wild. Mark bent over backwards for Eve in ways he never did for Amber. He will stop everything to be at Eve's side while his evil, invincible variants are putting belt to ass on the entire planet. He set out a whole war just because Eve was hurt. She broke her leg. It wasn't that serious. And I'm just like, Mark, your mom and brother are still out there. You don't think one of your variants wouldn't pull up to the crib because Movinzahawk sure did?
Yeah. Mom, I'm hurt. I need you. Mom? Ah, shit. I was really looking forward to killing her again.
Seriously.
Listen, out of all the variants, Movinzahawk is my favorite. I can't wait to see him again because I know Angstrom Levy, Jimmy Neutron's big head cousin, sent them to another dimension, so they're surely to make another appearance sometime in the future. With all that mentioned,
yup.
Mark really said fuck his mom and brother to stay in the most secure superhero hospital on the planet, to stay with his injured GF of 3 months. The fandom's reaction makes it worse. When Amber voiced her feelings, she was villainized. People painted her as selfish for asking for basic communication, dismissing her concerns with, well, he's saving people. True, he was. But when Mark completely abandoned saving people to be with Eve, suddenly he's such a great boyfriend. Now, let's talk about Eve, because honestly, her relationship with Mark is giving bland. No seasoning, no flavor, nothing beyond salt and pepper.
Where's the flavor? Where's the flavor in this? I don't taste anything. I don't taste sugar,
okay.
cinnamon, milk, nothing.
Shut up! You haven't read the damn comics.
That's to Mark and Amber, who had all the spices: adobo, onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of oregano sprinkled on top, a whole spice rack of tension, conflict, and chemistry. Their relationship wasn't perfect. It was indeed messy as hell, but it had heat. With Eve, things feel flat. Right now, their pattern boils down to this. Mark vents about his problems on a rooftop, and then they go to Pound Town every episode.
I just might have to dig you down on some gangster shit.
And then, not to get more respectful, they had sex after Rex's funeral. Trauma bonding is a different kind of breed, bro. Mark giving her that Invincidick, putting her head through all types of ceilings. Let me stop if I get demonetized. It's not that I hate Mark and Eve as a couple, but their relationship feels undercooked. The bigger issue...
Oh, trust me, honey. The conflict is definitely coming. In fact, that scene is indicative of the conflict that will be coming. Just you wait, honey.
Is how Eve's personality seems to have dimmed since they started dating. She becomes Mark's emotional support system, his yes woman. When Mark needed her during the Invincible War, she was unconscious. That's not her fault, and yet her role still boiled down to being the girlfriend in the hospital bed, while Mark prioritized her over everything else. Mark, if you don't take your ass back to the war, people are dying.
Yeah. Haley Joel Osment.
She's been reduced to an emotional anchor instead of the independent, multi-layer character she was in earlier seasons. And honestly, the writers missed a golden opportunity here. Instead of bouncing Mark from one relationship straight into another, why not let him be single for a while? Let him process, grow, and stand on his own before jumping into something new. That would have made his eventual relationship with Eve feel earned and not rushed. Well,
okay.
That's all I gotta say for today. If you still hate Amber after this, then hey, that's your prerogative. I wasn't here to twist your arm or change anybody's mind. Just to point out that maybe the hate is a little extra.
It is.
At the end of the day, Mark had his reasons, Amber had hers, and the show wrote them the way it did. But let's not act like she's the villain of Invincible when we have Viltrumites pulling up on the planet every other Tuesday and destroying cities on a regular, okay?
Yeah, in that regard, I agree with her. I definitely believe that that hate for Amber is a little overblown. It's way too overblown, honestly. She doesn't deserve the hate that she did, but the bad writing kind of just put that. But it was interesting to hear about that whole black girl trope, the misogynoir, whatever. That really is interesting from a sociological perspective, and it actually makes sense because I've actually seen a lot of that, and even in other shows like maybe season 2 of American Horror Story with the character Alma, like some bull crap, but at the same time everybody kind of died in that scenario. But anyway, there's also but again, I don't trust me, you haven't read, like, you're making a little bit too many assumptions right now, and you haven't watched the rest of the show because you've not read the comics, and they're basically following what the comics have done. I know they put a little bit extra spice on it, but trust me, that scene where they make love after Rex's funeral is showing where the conflict will be coming from. So don't you worry. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that, because I'm going to spoil the whole damn thing if I keep going. So please smash that like button if you want to see more sexy and nerdy content, and subscribe if you think I deserve it. And remember, sign up for my Patreon for all my latest reactions to my latest videos. And I'll see you all in the next episode.